Hello everyone, this is Mohammad Nasim Firdaus and I will be here to narrate and present this PowerPoint which is on the audiolingual method. Yes, it is one of the methods which we will be needed to identify and to develop our knowledge about learning English language. And this PowerPoint and has lots of information which was collected from Richardson Rogers, Larson Freeman and other various sources. And I am Mohammad Nasim Firdaus. I will be going through with this presentation. So let's start. Yes, we are going to the introduction. This is the base introduction. Audiolingual method is an oral based approach because the belief is that language can be learned through orally. That means in a spoken format. And this particular methodology is based on behavioral psychology by B.F. Skinner. So based on the behavior, this particular method will help the learners to learn a language. It has a strong theoretical base in linguistics and psychology. That's why it is based on behavioral psychology. If we would like to go back, if we would like to find the source, how come this particular method came to in the institution of language learning, then we have to go back to the World War II. And at that time, America needed people to learn foreign language very quickly as part of its overall military operations. So you know that in Second World War, there were allies and they needed to fight together. And in order to do that, they needed to deliver the knowledge of English language to others, and that's why it was very important to learn it in a very quick succession. And it became popular because of its quick success. Yes, so through this method one can have a quick success on language learning. Okay, so what are the features of audiolingual method? I would like to recommend you to go to the textbook 1, that is Syllabus and Methods and Materials by Richardson Rogers, and you will find this text in page number 56 and 57. But look at this here. These are the major features. These are the key features of ALM. The first one is that they attend to structure and form more than meaning. So likely, it is very likely to grammar translation method, which is focused on the structure rather than contextual meaning. So it also focused on the structure and meaning it does not focus at. And that is why contextualization is not a concerned area of audiolingual method. Language learning is learning the structures, sounds and words. Yes, audiolingual method will help you to learn the structures of the sounds, of the words, or even the sentences. That's why overlearning is what this audiolingual method seek. Yes, overlearning. They want to learn more and more. And to learn this thing, to make this happen, drilling is used as a central technique. So reading and reciting over and over again, this is the technique is used to learn a language. And for the pronunciation, this particular method mainly focus on native speaker like pronunciation. So if a learner has native speaker like pronunciation, then if a learner want to have native speaker like pronunciation, then he or she must have to learn through audiolingual method. Based on this method, definitely. And interestingly, unlike grammar translation method, it actually avoids grammatical explanation. So during teaching, the teacher does not explain grammar, and the learners do not have the explanation, grammatical explanation. And another significant feature is the use of learners' native language, and it is strictly forbidden in grammar translation method, where the medium of instruction is the native language. But in audiolingual method, native language is strictly forbidden. Reading and writing are deferred until speech is mastered. As we know that it is a oral-based approach, so based on the listening, based on a learner can learn the language based on listening. So that's why it basically focuses on the listening and speaking. Reading and writing comes later. And last but not the least, because the whole method is based on this formation, and that is habit formation, it believes that language is habit. As it believes that language is habit, so any error should have prevented. So if the learner makes a mistake, or he or she has error, then everything will be prevented at any cost. Yes, unlike other methodologies where some errors or mistakes are consciously skipped, but in audiolingual method it will not be skipped, it will be prevented. So what are the theory of language and language learnings? We came to know that based on every methodology, theory of language and theory of language learning are very much important in order to identify and understand and the method itself. Theory of language underlying audiolingualism was derived from structural linguists. As we already know that it is based on the structure, it focuses on the structure, and structures are rule governed. Structures means when you will have some definite rules and regulations and principles about how to produce these things. So this particular methodology believes that language is just a structure, and every language have lots of rules and principles, and by learning those rules, a learner can produce the elements of a language. And that's why the language learning is based on the habit formation. Foreign languages, that could be any language, that could be English for our country, English, Japanese, or any other language is recommended as or referred as foreign language, and those languages is considered a process of mechanical habit formation. So it is not a non-instinctive, rather than it says that it is mechanical. That means like a machine. And for example, if I talk about a electric fan, and I turn on the fan, and the fan moves from one point to another point in a regular process. So anytime you turn on the fan, it will move from one particular direction. So that's what we refer as mechanical. So in this particular method, it believes about mechanical habit formation. That's why language skills are learned more effectively in items to be learned in the target language are presented in spoken form before they are seen in written form. This particular methodology suggests that for learning a language, the spoken form should be come in front rather than the written form. If a learner identifies the spoken form at first, and then he or she explore the written form, then it will be better for him or her to understand and to learn the language skill in a better way. But the interesting thing is that learning, for example, learning a language, it believes a particular theory, and which we refer as SOR, stimulus organism response. So based on this behavior, based on this pattern, a language learner can learn a language, which is also referred as classical conditioning. So first one is stimulus. Stimulus comes from the stimuli. Stimuli is could be a thing, it could be an idea, anything by which a learner exaggerate or not exaggerate, by which a learner can stimulate about any particular idea or particular thing. An organism is referred as the human being who is trying to learn, and based on the learner's response behavior, there will be two reinforcement. One is positive reinforcement and another is negative reinforcement. If there is positive reinforcement, behavior likely to occur again and become habit. So that means it will be considered as a habit formation. But if the reinforcement becomes negative, then the behavior will not occur again. So let me give you an example. For example, as a kid, a child likes to watch a cartoon. So whenever he sees a TV, his stimuli refers to see the cartoon. And as a kid, his behavior is that he would like to go to the cartoon channels to watch those cartoons. But if he has somewhat his intention is diverted to other point of view. For example, the child's mother doesn't want the child to see the cartoon. So if the child sees his or her mother there, then he would be not turning on the TV and look at the and watch the cartoon shows. So whenever his or her mother will be there, then it will be converted into negative reinforcement, and he or she will not do the thing. But if the mother doesn't have any objection about watching a cartoon, then he will have positive reinforcement and he will be doing that in a regular way. This particular learning process is identified, is applied in the theory of language learning in audiolingual method. So how it is designed, how audiolingual method is designed, and what are the objectives and syllabus of audiolingual method. So it has been come several times that it is an oral based approach. So oral fluency is the primary objective of this particular method. So that's why two different objectives are identified under audiolingual method, and one is short range objectives and another one is long range objectives. So as we know that it is designed to have quick success in language learning in 50s. So that's why the short range objectives can be achieved by training in listening comprehension, accurate pronunciation, recognition of speech symbols. As it is a oral based approach, so it mainly focuses on oral fluency. So it focuses on the listening comprehension, so understanding, listening clearly, and accurate pronunciation and recognition of speech symbols. So we know that we have written symbols, we have speech symbols, but here speech symbols are more focused to achieve the short range objectives. And for a long run and objectification, native speaker like competency is what it seeks. That means if a learner have native speaker like competency, then he or she is competent in that particular language. That means through this method he or she has learned the language. So the syllabus will be syllabus is constructed in a linguistic one. So linguistic syllabus, that means the major elements in the study of language, which are phonology, morphology, syntax. These sections, these elements are arranged accordingly to their order presentation. So first the learner will learn the sounds. He or she will study the sounds, then the words, then the sentence structures, and that's the order he or she will maintain, and in order to learn a language. And skills orders are like this one. First one, of course, listening, and followed by speaking, and reading and writing will come when the learner will try to go to the advanced level. Listening is viewed largely as training, but more complex reading and writing tasks may be introduced at more advanced levels. So as the format says, as the teaching order says, from listening to writing, and reading and writing are the later parts. So this particular methodology is based on listening. So first completing listening, there will have lots of training on listening, then it will be followed by complex reading and writing tasks. That means the learner will have different reading tasks and writing activities is in a complex manner. So the types of learning and teaching activities. So as a learner, what the learner will learn, and as a teacher, how or what the teacher will do in his or her class. So the main arrangement is there: mimicry, memorization, and pattern drills. And the classroom environment is based on this one. The learners will mimicry the teacher, the learner will memorize the structure, and they will follow the pattern drills. And that's how the language learning environment will be implemented in an ALM class. And this model is derived from Brook, and you will find this base 12 pattern drills, and these are explained as well in your book. So please do not forget to look around of a book, and you will find this pattern drills. So let's have this pattern drills. We need to have a close look on this one, because these activities are being applied by the teachers in ALM class. So number one is repetition. So that means the teacher will follow a dialogue, as we identified that it is based on an oral. It is based on oral fluency. So and listening is the prime thing. So this class will start by listening. The learners will listen, because the teacher will speak. The teacher will deliver a dialogue, and based on that dialogue, these pattern drills will be applied in the class. So first one is the repetition. So the teacher will deliver a dialogue, and the learners will repeat after teaching. And then inflection, replacement means the teacher will replace the dialogues, replace the structure, restate the dialogue, change the pattern, and maybe there will be some gap, and the learners need to complete this one. And then transposition, expansion, contraction, transformation, integration, rejoinder, and restoration. These are the pattern drills the learner will be followed in an audiolingual in a class. So as a teacher, if you want to be a teacher, and if you want to teach your learners English language, and you want to follow audiolingual method, so any of these pattern drills you can follow to memorize, or to have them a dialogue and memorize them. So what will be teacher doing in this class? So what will be the role of a teacher? As it is morely very close to the direct method, though there are lots of differences in there, but definitely it's a teacher dominated method. The teacher will be the active one, and he or she will do the major things in there. So that's why it is a teacher dominated method, and his role will be that he will be the central and active person in that particular class. So the teacher will control the direction, the instruction, and he or she will monitor and correct the learner's performance. As we know that correction is one of the major things, error correction, and the teacher will do it explicitly. So he or she will monitor and correct learner's performance, how the learners is developing or learning the language, because one of the major objectives is to develop the competencies. So in order to learn whether the learner identifies or gathers the competencies or not, the teacher will evaluate learner's performance. And learner's role, learners will, as the teacher has the active role, so the learner will play a reactive role, because he will be responding to stimuli. For example, if a dialogue starts with "Hello Jay, how are you?" in response, another person says, whose name is K, says this, yes, I'm fine, what about you? So whenever the learner listens the first phrase, "Hello, how are you?" then he or she will respond to that particular reply, "Yes, I am fine, what about you?" So that's how the learner is responding to stimuli. The first sentence is stimuli, and the second sentence is considered as response by the learner. So as the learners have a reactive role, so there is a little control over the content, pace, and style of learning. So the learners do not have any control on the content, so they do not know the exact content or what is the material in there, so how long it takes to learn this thing, or the style of learning. So the way of learning is not focused in this particular method. So what will be the materials? What will be the textbooks? What will be the other visual or audio materials in there? As it is based on listening, so tape recorders and audiovisual equipment and will be the prime material in there. So anything which can reflect the sound, which can give the learner audiovisual movement, then those equipments will be implemented in this particular method. And those materials will be on teacher oriented. So teacher's book, teacher's guidance, or teacher's textbook will be followed rather than the student's one. And all of the materials will be assisting the teacher to develop language mastery in the learner. So as it is not for the communication, this particular method does not focus on the interaction, on the communication among the language learners or language users. It is mainly focused on the correct, grammatically correct structures. So in this particular method, the materials will help the teacher to develop language mastery, not for the communication or interaction. So what will be the procedure? How the teacher will process as audiolingual method based class. As this is extensive, so the instruction will be through oral way, and that will be extensive as well. And for that one, the procedures will be like this one, based on Richards and Rogers. First, the teacher will model a dialogue, and the students will repeat. The teacher will correct the mistakes, and the learners will memorize. So that's the basic process, and this is the model which will be followed in most of the pattern drills. We had the pattern drills, and the learners will follow those pattern drills implemented by the teacher, any of those 12 pattern drills. And dialogues are adapted and then acted out. So first, the dialogues will be adapted as the teacher will deliver the dialogue, and the learners will adapt the dialogue, and they will act those dialogue in order to understand and the structure of that language. Key structures are selected and used for pattern drills. So many structures, the key structures will be selected. For example, if the teacher want to teach the structure of a sound or of a sentence, he or she will focus on the structure, and then that will be used in the dialogue to have those pattern drills. And of course, follow-up reading, writing activities will be introduced from the textbook. The textbook, which is mainly based on the focus for the teachers. So those textbook will be implemented, but for the follow-up reading and for the writing activities only. And those follow-up activities can take place in a language laboratory. Yes, in a language laboratory, those activities can be applied to have more practice, to have memorize and mimicry the dialogues produced and delivered by the teacher. So that's how audiolingual method can be applied and used in a language classroom. Okay, but still it is in the form of decline, because this method has declined by many language learners. And why is that? Because of the theoretical foundations. The theoretical foundations were considered weak in both language theory and language learning theory. The way this particular method thinks about the language is considered weak, and of course the learning theory as well, which is the behaviorism, which is on the habit formation. And the practitioners, the experts, discovered that practical results did not meet expectations. The results which came after learning through this method, which did not meet the expectations also of the providers. For example, a learner learned different set of skills, maybe listening and speaking, but it doesn't meet the expectation of the providers. And students unable to transfer skills acquired through audiolingualism to real communication outside the classroom. So the skills they learned in a classroom, the students fail to transfer those skills outside the classroom. They fail to communicate, and they're supposed to do that because this particular method does not focus on the communication. And many students found it boring and unsatisfying. Yes, they thought that this is a boring method because lots of drilling in there, and the learners have to repeat those things so again and again. There is no variety. There is variety in pattern drills, but still it is all about mimicry and memorization. So the learners find it boring and unsatisfying. If you follow the book, you will find that a teacher do this thing again, especially in Larson Freeman. If you follow the experience, the class experience, you will find that lots of drilling in there to learn a particular conversation structure, dialogue structure. And the theoretical attack, so as it is weak in language theory and learning theory, so there was a theoretical attack which resulted changes in American linguistic theory in the 1960s. So that's one of the reasons which helped audiolingualism to decline. And last but not the least, the invention of transformational grammar, which is also known as transformation generative grammar or TG grammar, by where Noam Chomsky theorizes that there is an innate ability of language learner by which the mind of a language learner is already developed with the fundamental properties of a language. So there is a global structure in there, and from how humans process experience through language. So that's how the any human being learn a language. Like if a learner learns the basic theories, for example, if a learner learns the basic structures, for example, subject plus verb plus object, or maybe a noun phrase will be consisting of an determiner plus what should I say? Let me give you one thing. So determiner plus adjective plus a noun. So for example, a structure could be in like that. Noun phrase equal to it could be article or determiner plus noun. So it could be one structure in there, or it could be article plus adjective. Yes, article plus adjective plus noun. So these are the structures of noun phrases. So if one learner learns some structures like this one, article plus noun, or the article plus adjective plus noun, he or she will be learning this one. And so these structures, by learning these structures, he or she will have better idea. He or she will be able to produce more sentences and more elements in language. So those invention, those theory, developing of those theory helped to decline this particular method. Okay, so now you have this question. If you want to teach through audiolingual method, so does it make sense to you that language acquisition results from habit formation? So do you think that habit formation will be a successful one to acquire a language? So what will be your view? I will be definitely creating a forum on that, and I will be expecting your ideas, your opinions, your views about these particular questions. So please do join me in the forum and post your comments, post your opinions, post your views on this particular question. I will be there to discuss on the thing. Yes, and I have taken these references from Richardson Rogers and Nelson Freeman, and you also have this book, Approaches and Methods in Language Teaching. So please browse this book, and the particular chapter will help you to understand all the necessary sections of this particular method. And of course, do not forget, do not skip this one, Techniques and Principles in Language Teaching. This particular book will help you to give you the class experience. The way it is explaining about audiolingual method is a very extensive one, and will be visualized. You will be able to visualize about the class, which will give you proper idea about audiolingual method, and that's how you will be able to do that. Okay, if you have a question, please do ask in forum. But I should tell you, the whole objective of this class is that by having this class, you have proper idea how to implement a class following audiolingual method. So whenever we will be developing a material, you will be having the strategy, the procedure of this particular method in your brain, and you will be able to design a material in a correct format. So do not forget that. And thank you very much for being here for the last 35 minutes, and I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will be there to answer all of your questions if you have. Thank you once again.